live! Woo! Technical difficulties 101. Welcome back. I'm, of course, Statman Dave, and this is the transfer talk for Bonucci's move to potentially Manchester United, of course. The rumours came out around last week. Very exciting times for Manchester United. A player that could really evolve Manchester United's defence, but also their ball playing deep in midfield. In terms of what we want to see from Bonucci as a centre-half at United, it's that leader. It's that ability to command other centre-backs. In terms of the quotes, though, coming out today by the AC Milan CEO, Marco Fazzone. Leo is our captain. He's not one of those players that we are discussing or negotiating about. Pretty much AC Milan coming out today saying that they are not going to sell Leonardo Bonucci. But we've heard that before as Manchester United fans, so I'm pretty excited. On Transfermarkt, of course, Bonucci's rated at around £31.5 million. And there's reports from the Italian press saying Milan are ready to accept around £37 million. The interesting side to that, of course, is that AC Milan are banned from playing in international tournaments, especially in the Europa League and Champions League, after breaking FFP. They went massively over their budget. They've got a little bit of problems with their Chinese investors in terms of getting money through the club, so Man United may be able to swoop. But that's all about the little bit of news involved in terms of Bonucci. Let's get this party started and start talking about Bonucci as a player. First up, of course, at Juventus, where he made his name in a 3-5-2 with, of course, Leonardo Bonucci sitting in the middle of a back three of Chiellini and Barzagli. For me, that was one of the best back threes we've ever seen in European football. Brilliant with the ball at their feet in terms of, building attacks from deep, linking with Andre Pirlo and then Marchisio later on, getting sort of Paul Pogba the ball higher up the pitch. But of course, the big thing was the defensive side. Barzagli, a fullback at his days at Wolfsburg when he won the German League, moved to Juventus and was converted to a right centre-back and a back three. Really helped, Bonucci be the centrepiece of this back three, and of course Chiellini setting on that left-hand side. In terms of what I really like about Bonucci in this back three was he was the guy that was sort of the old-school sweeper. I talk sweepers, that a position that used to be played, back in the day, where one of the centre-backs used to sort of, deploy himself deeper when the offside rule wasn't a thing, where they'd sit one player deep and they'd look to sort of deal with the runners. Bonucci's not in terms of a sweeper in that respect, but he's a sweeper in the other respect. That, of course, is the Beckenbauer sweeper, a guy that's going to step out the back and build up the play and drive into midfield and link with his teammates, and that's why he was so good at Juve, so good at starting those attacks and linking with, of course, Paul Pogba. Again, if we switch to Stat Zone, we can see Paul Pogba and Bonucci sort of link up against Lazio. When they were together, of course, in Serie A, we can see the team lineup, a bit different than the team that we put before. That was the team that's sort of the best 11 with Bonucci in there. This is just a game, of course, against Lazio in Serie A, a 3-0 win. And again, you've got Bonucci at the centre of the heart of defence, Paul Pogba in central midfield. The interesting side of this game, if you look at the stats of Bonucci, is in terms of where he's passing to. You're looking at where you want to be as a centre-half. You want to keep possession, you want to be popping it to Rudiger, you want to be popping it to Barzagli either side of you, but also you want to be playing those passes into midfield. Hernandez, of course, playing as the deepest pivot in that three-man midfield, a key link in there, but more importantly, getting Paul Pogba in between the lines. This game, of course, Juventus dominated and absolutely smashed Lazio, but the big thing was Bonucci finding Paul Pogba in between the lines, something that can happen at Manchester United if Bonucci is brought in. Of course, if we move the stats on and to see what the impact Pogba had in that game, we could look at shots, for example. Pogba having the second most shots on the pitch behind Dybala, but frequently it was Bonucci finding Pogba in between the lines, Pogba taking someone on and then getting a shot away. So then I'd like to see a little bit more at Manchester United. But moving a bit further forward, let's talk now about, of course, Bonucci at AC Milan. Bonucci moved to AC Milan last summer after, some potential transfer talk or rumours to Chelsea. But what's quite interesting in terms of what he's become at AC Milan is he's pretty much their best player by a country mile. AC Milan this season set up in pretty much a 4-3-3 shape. Bonucci partnering Romagnoli usually at left centre-back, Bonucci playing as a right centre-back. The interesting side, of course, Bonucci in Serie A. For AC Milan, of course, he was dominant at Juventus. He's still dominant at AC Milan on the ball. Get into the comments, guys. Do you think he's the best ball-playing centre-back in the world right now? And I'm going to hit your comments after we talk about AC Milan and how Bonucci has been so good there. In terms of the stats, Bonucci's averaging around 60 passes per game in Serie A last season. But the interesting side, the game-changing fact about Bonucci is his long passes. 7.7 successful long passes in Serie A last season. That puts him up there with some of the better players in world football in terms of centre-halves and defensive midfielders that like to switch the play and so forth. And again, that's why Bonucci is such an absolute star and would be fantastic for United, is that ability to bring the ball out and link with his teammates. And the game against AC Milan was a really interesting one to sort of showcase Bonucci as a wonderful footballer. Again, he's just one of those players that can sort of, pick the ball up and really dictate the play in terms of midfield and so forth. I'm just looking for the StatZone app to find the game that I want to be talking about. Of course, StatZone, the link is in the description below if you want to go and check it out. It's a wonderful football app. If you're a football fan, it is absolute. It's like your... I don't know what it is. It's like your banana. I absolutely love bananas. I don't want to say anything bad, but it's like bananas. Bananas are absolutely sick, and that is what StatZone is. So I'm just trying to find the game, just scrolling down the StatZone app. So here we have it, Juventus versus Milan. One of the biggest games, because Milan at this point had some really good momentum. Gattuso finally getting his sort of tactics and style across to the guys, and it was sort of an interesting game in terms of Juve versus AC Milan. I always like seeing players that potentially will be joining Manchester United, playing against the good teams in their sort of league in a way. Again, you see Bonucci partnering Romagnoli at the base of midfield. The key guys that we're going to talk about is obviously his link up with Suso, but also his ability to play forward passes and dictate the play. Again, in that game, it was quite interesting in terms of how Bonucci was so good with the ball at his feet. Again, let's take a look at his pass map. Absolutely fantastic. A lot of centre-backs that we see, sometimes at United in the World Cup that play for these bigger sides, very, square passes, not forward passes, but that's not Bonucci. Again, what I mentioned before, Bonucci really dictates the play from the back. Frequently, Bonucci picked up the ball from Donnarumma, would play some combination play with the right back, then receive it again, and then play forward, playing out of the press. Again, one of the things Juventus do really well in Serie A, whether they play a 3-5-2, whether they play a 4-4-2, is press really high. But what we saw with Bonucci in this game is just consistently popping those little balls, then playing forward into midfield. And his long passing, again, the stat we mentioned, 7.7 successful long passes per game in Serie A this season, is an absolute corking stat. But again, what I mentioned before, the link up with Paul Pogba, the link up with attacking players, that is what you get from Bonucci. Again, the second most, the joint top passing combination for Bonucci. Of course, he's going to find the right back 11 times, but finding Suso 11 times, all in those advanced areas, always getting Suso into an area where he can attack. There was a great moment around 6 minutes from the end of the game where Bonucci picked up the ball in the centre circle of the pitch, drove through midfield, got into the final third, and then played a pass sort of square to Suso. Man United really lack a centre-back that can do that, that can drive forward and that can attack midfield. And I think that's a big thing with Bonucci. Not only is he good on the ball, but he'll really add that attacking element to Manchester United. Moving forward to the other sides of Bonucci's game that United will get, of course, is his danger from set pieces. Bonucci scoring a wonderful header in this game. It was a simple goal from a set piece whipped in by Hakan Çalhanoğlu, and then a brilliant header, fantastic header at the back post. I've got a brilliant freeze frame of it that I was doing my research on. Basically, Bonucci rises and he's in between Chiellini and Barzagli, his ex-teammates, and that shows the character of the guy. There were stories of him being out in, I think he was out in Naples on holiday, and someone went to rob him on a moped, pulled out a knife. Bonucci didn't take any of it. Simply stood the guy down. I'll fight you. The guy drives off on his moped, and that's the type of guy United are going to get, a leader. But not only that, is he's going to go back to clubs that he played at before and really fight. Not only did he score a goal on around the 26th minute, around 4 minutes later, he tried to lob Buffon. Whether this is registered as a goal or a pass, I'm not too sure, but Bonucci basically picked up the ball. I think it may have been one of the passes that he was registered. Basically picked the ball and tried to lob Buffon. That was one of the red passes you can see towards the opposition's goal. How cocky is that? That's what United need, is that level of cockiness. Really like that from Bonucci. The thing with AC Milan as well, there's been a lot of question marks about whether Bonucci is still at that same level. Again, you guys get into the comments. I'm going to be going to the comments in a second. You guys get into the comments about how you feel Bonucci's going to fit into this Man United team. But for me, he's still up there with the top centre-halves. And with AC Milan, there were a few times in this game where Bonucci would build some really good play up. He'd roll some passes. He'd pop it left, pop it right. And then he'd play forward. And then there was a real poor quality of the AC Milan attackers. I think there was frequently where he'd pop a pass to Bonaventura's feet, and Bonaventura sure would take a bad touch. United aren't going to get that with the quality of Alexis Sanchez, Lukaku, Paul Pogba and all those guys. I'm not worried at all about Bonucci. He's a top player. In terms of the defensive side of the game, he didn't actually have to do too much defending. The 6 ball recoveries, pretty decent numbers for a centre-back, all outside the penalty area. So again, on StatZone, we can visualise that. But yeah, in terms of where we want to go now, let's get into the comments, guys. Do you think United should sign Bonucci? That's where we're going to go right now. Just going to roll down into the comments. We aren't getting him, Dave. He's not for sale. It's an interesting thing, of course, as I mentioned before, the start of the video, we spoke about the AC Milan CEO's comments saying Bonucci's not for sale, but potentially AC Milan, they are in a really bad state right now in terms of where they are as a football club. They can't play in Europe for 2 years. Bonucci's 31 years old. This is his last chance to go on and win the Champions League. Again, something he's not done in his career. I really feel if United can get Bonucci and someone like Eric Bailly together, as we'll talk about a little bit later on, that'll work really, really well. Can't Lindelof play from the back like Bonucci? He can, but Lindelof, as we've seen, we'll talk about this later on as well, for Sweden, needs a leader next to him. A lot of comments coming in, a back three, Lindelof, Bonucci, Bailly. I really like that as a balanced partnership. AGTV football as well, Bonucci and Bailly would be well balanced. I kind of agree with that. Bailly being a little bit more aggressive, taking that sort of Chiellini role, and Bonucci being the cover defender. Again, what I mentioned, Bonucci's a very, very good Italian defender. Always really aware. In the game against Juventus, Higuain kept on making runs into the left channel from the right side of the pitch, and Bonucci would track him all the way over, and I think there were 2 or 3 opportunities that happened. Every single time Bonucci won the ball. Again, really good at being a defender. Yeah, we talk about his ball playing, but first and foremost, he's a defender. He's learnt off the best. Chiellini and Barzagli, 2 of the best centre-backs we've seen in the modern day. But that's a big thing there, guys. Keep getting your comments in. Is this confirmed or rumour? Just a rumour at the moment, guys, but I am just thinking that it would be a fantastic signing as a player. Let's get this party started. Still going in the comments. Do you think Bonucci can handle the Premier League? Yes, 100%. A very, very physical player. If he's up for us, if someone draws him into a physical fight, he can go for that. United won't win the Premier League with Young as fullback. I think the fullback area is a time where, a position United to definitely need to improve on. Ramos isn't a ball-playing centre-back than Bonucci. I agree with that. I'd say Bonucci number 1. Ramos is up there though. Right, guys, thanks for getting the comments in. Keep getting your comments in. The next question that I want you guys to answer for this is going to be, is Bonucci the leader Manchester United need? So before we talk about formations and United shapes that they can play, let's just talk about is it him being a leader. United lack leaders. We've seen from Romelu Lukaku for Belgium, he is becoming a leader. Lukaku, I'd probably put him at second captain, but I think there's someone that needs to come in that is the captain of the side, that's a real leader, that will be cutthroat, that will be vocal, that will have a go at players, that will bite people's heads off if the standards of football isn't good enough. You think in centre-halves in world football, I think there's 3 of them that you can sign right now. Sergio Ramos, Diego Godin or Bonucci. There's your 3 options. That's experience, that's leadership, and that is that level of fear that's going to put into his teammates that you've not got to mess up here. You've got to deliver at this point, and that is why I think Bonucci is going to be a great player. There's a lot of comments about the 3-5-2, so let's talk about the 3-5-2 and how Man United could set up in a 3-5-2 in terms of the formation and the shape. So, of course, Leonardo Bonucci will be playing at the centre of the back 3. That's where you get the best work out of Leonardo Bonucci, moving into defensive midfield, getting on the ball and really controlling the tempo and the flow of the game from that position. Again, flanked either side by Lindelof and Eric Bailly. Both players have excelled for Manchester United in a back 3. You think Victor Lindelof up against, the likes of Watford, up against the likes of Arsenal, really did well when he had a man-to-man battle. You think Richarlison against Watford, Alexis Sanchez against Arsenal, and I think that's where really you could see someone like Lindelof playing next to Bonucci and having a leader. What I mentioned before about leaders, you look at Sweden, Granqvist and Lindelof look really good as a pairing. They will be getting to the quarterfinals of the World Cup. But Lindelof needs a physical player next to him, and Bonucci can be that guy. Of course, Eric Bailly as well, wonderful player out the back, would help with the build-up with Bonucci. Bailly, easy pairing there, could draw the opponents out, which would allow Manchester United again to play a 3-man midfield of Matic, Pogba and Fred, and then the 2 guys up front, Sanchez and Romelu Lukaku. Again, I go back to the AC Milan game. Maybe we can have a quick look at StatZone. There's one final thing I want to talk about on that in terms of how United could work well with, of course, someone like Bonucci. Before we mentioned Bonucci's link to Suso and how he found him 11 times, that was one of the most frequent passing combinations. United could get that with, of course, Alexis Sanchez pulling wide, Bonucci finding him at those advanced areas. We all know how Sanchez likes to get on the ball. But again, if Bonucci can hit Sanchez, movement from midfield can come from Paul Pogba. Alternatively, though, the long balls. We saw some really good long passes. Two of them going to Kalinic, the Croatian centre forward. Again, these balls were brilliant. Out of the back, into the striker's feet. And again, what we want to see is more service to Romelu Lukaku. Bonucci's instantly going to give United that from the back. And here is the stats. Here's the information showing you that's going to happen. Kalinic's movement was a lot better than Andre Silva's movement. And he put himself into a position where he can, get 1v1 with the centre-halves, or can bring players in. And that is what United need to do. Get Bonucci, get Romelu Lukaku all together. Finally going to go back to the comments for one last time. Get your comments in. Should United sign Bonucci? Should they go all out to bring the Italian centre-half to Manchester United, guys? Just going to scroll down here. How true is this Bonucci rumour? Well, there's reports that Mourinho said about a week ago that he wants Man United to chase him. He wants Man United to sign him. Of course, Mourinho is going to identify a number of centre-half targets to bring in, so forth, like one coming into the comments. Someone saying Jose Jimenez has signed the new deal, which is completely correct. The other option would be Diogo Godin. Apparently, he has an £18 million release clause. Who would you guys want, Bonucci or Diogo Godin? They're the two options that we could have there. I'd be totally fine with Bonucci, but Koulibaly would be a dream. Koulibaly's a very, very good player. I don't know if he's as much of a leader as Bonucci is. I don't think he's got that good experience and that sort of, that high level in terms of winning mentality. Again, Napoli flopping in Serie A once again. Koulibaly scores a wonderful header to beat Juventus, but they fall off. Bonucci is a born winner with, of course, Juventus. That's what you get there. I do think United have leaders such as De Gea, Pogba and Lukaku, but adding Bonucci to complete the spine of the leaders within the squad, that would be absolutely fine. I completely agree with that. That is how I want. James MC, Alderweireld or Bonucci? I'm going to go Bonucci. Alderweireld averages slightly more long passes per game in the Premier League last season, but Alderweireld is a little bit suspect when it comes to defending. Going to say it right now. You think United targeted him in the home game at Old Trafford. Lukaku flicked on that long ball, Anthony Martial running in. That was a targeted move from United to hit either Alderweireld or Vertonghen with long balls. Lost there. But guys, Bonucci would be fantastic. I would love Bonucci. That is a comment coming in. We are going to wrap stuff up right now. But again, like that goddamn video. Subscribe if you're new to me, Statman Dave. Thanks for watching. We're going to be doing more of these transfer reaction videos very, very soon on my channel. So Transfer Talk will continue. You guys rock. I rock. Let's have a wonderful day.